Hello and welcome to the vlog, which comes to you this time from a rather misty and foggy Foxton Locks in Leicestershire. Once upon a time there was an inclined plane mechanism here to take boats from down there to up here by mechanical means. It's long gone, though there is a campaign to restore it. For now, boats ascend or descend 75 feet through 10 locks, arranged as two 5-lock staircases. A staircase being where the locks flow directly into each other rather than having a pound between them. There's refreshment at the top from the Top Lock Cafe and at the bottom from the pub. Boats here can decide to turn left up to Leicester or right towards Market Harborough. But why am I filming in the near dark and why is it so busy? These lights are the clue. I'm here for the first Illuminated Boats Festival to be held at Foxton Locks.
This event is all about giving people reasons to come to Foxton Locks to enjoy their local waterway. We had a similar event last year in Stoke Bruin and it was so successful that we thought we'd do it again and we'd do it even bigger and better, so we brought it to Foxton. We've invited boats to come and get dressed up. We've got a prize for the prettiest or the best dressed boat, and at 6 o'clock, which will be the highlight, we've got a boat parade with pyrotechnics and a 30-foot fire sculpture.
So let's have a quick look at some of the boats and their many, many twinkling lights. The boaters have clearly put a lot of effort in, and for the Canal and River Trust, it's a chance to show off the site and earn a bit of cash.
Running this 2,000-mile network is a very costly activity. We're always coping with 200-year-old infrastructure that needs a lot of repair, a lot of care and attention, and so we need people to support what we're doing. And we know that millions of people come and visit their canals. We need those millions of people to support us. And events like this are very, very important to making those connections stick a little bit better than they would otherwise.
At 6 o'clock, the first flames of the evening's parade were lit on a little island where the canal splits before the locks. Hundreds of people had gathered alongside the canal in the freezing fog awaiting this moment, and very soon the VIP boat emerged from the shadows to disappear past us into the distance. The crowd waited patiently, and before long the boat was back. At first, nothing seems to have changed, but if you peer closely at the boat's bow, you can just make out a little lighted taper. This headed up to the island, where a man with a stick was ready. Taper lit stick, and there was a brief fizz while the boat drifted silently past. Then, like a fuse in a cartoon bomb, the fire worked its way down the stick until, halfway down and slightly unexpectedly, it fired up the giant Christmas tree sculpture. Meanwhile, the first procession boat loomed out of the darkness, with firecrackers on the bow, barely managing to penetrate the gloom. The tree, meanwhile, was fully flambéed and looking quite pretty. A shame I couldn't feel any warmth from it, as by now all my extremities were seemingly in cryogenic hibernation. More sparklers were set off on the land adjacent, and these spluttered and popped for a bit, though nothing that you'd actually call a firework went into the air. True enough, the CRT had promoted this as pyrotechnics, not fireworks, but it was a bit half-hearted. The first procession boat was now winding. Tricky enough at the best of times, but in the dark, with a crowd of thousands watching you, nightmare. Slow but steady were the watchwords, and it made for a nice image. Off it went back to its mooring, sparklers ablaze again, a trip of just a few yards, since the next winding hole was apparently 5 miles away. There was one final crackle from the tree, and then the second and final procession boat came along, practically invisible despite the splendid array of lights along its side. And those two boats were the parade, for which many thousands of spectators had waited.
We have been absolutely overwhelmed by the response, and we're just about to close the car parking because the site is pretty much at capacity.
It did indeed close, to the fury of some on Twitter who'd driven miles through the fog only to be turned away. But I don't think they really missed much. Now don't get me wrong, a huge amount of effort and decoration had gone into the individual boats. Kudos if you took part. But the event wasn't much, and costing a £5 to park, it was also irksome to hear some people had been let in without paying. But this was year one at this venue. Maybe 2017's will have a bit more substance. That's it for now. Bye bye.